our trans identity is just something that kind of eased our getting to know each other. It's certainly not what brought us together. It's certainly not what keeps us together. It's certainly not what defines our relationship, and it's certainly not why we are together. You know, we're together because of everything else, and the fact that we're both trans just makes those difficult moments that much easier. Hannah and I, our first holiday was in New York, our first ever couples holiday. And I also obviously proposed to Hannah in New York last September, down on one knee on Central Park Pond in a little rowing boat.
Yeah, there's a few things that are very New York themed around the place.
You know, it was a beautiful sunny day, September in New York, skyscrapers on one side, trees on the other side. There was purely by chance a little pagoda with a whole jazz band playing jazz across the water. I mean, it could not have been more perfect.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice. It was a really nice day. It's a little
New York at Christmas.
New York snow globe.
We have been together for 3 years, and because obviously Hannah was in the army and she was based near Sandhurst, and I've been based in London all my life. This is the first time now that Hannah's left the army that we've actually been able to move in and have a space together.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
So Nico was the rabbit that my mother bought me when we were on the way for me to have my top surgery done 10 years ago. And she is named after the first ever trans guy that I met. So she maybe should be a he, but anyway. Well, I think she looks like a she. I'm not sure that, you know, in the sort of boots and skirts.
Who are we to judge? Nico hasn't told us how they identify.
No, that's true. I've fought really hard for a good kind of, 28 years to be a he, and I'm holding on to that he for dear life. There was no trans people in my entire field of vision, and yet I knew that's who I was. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that I was not right. So I always looked like a little boy. I'd always dress, and when Hannah sees photos of me when I was little, she's like, oh, you were always a little boy. My whole life I'd been told that I was a woman, even though I knew I wasn't. But I knew that I was attracted to women, and I knew that everyone felt that I was a woman, and that I would, I guess, find a community within the lesbian scene. And I had my first girlfriend when I was about 16 and a half, 17 years old. I felt that there was something always kind of in the way that people didn't really understand, and obviously that was my trans identity. I think most trans people would attest that once you transition and once you're kind of living as a trans person, dating does become a lot harder. For me, I just felt I wanted someone who really kind of got who I was and what I was. And I realised, I think, I dated a few trans people in the last 4 years, and I realised that, when I found Hannah, that she was the person for me. I added Hannah as a friend on Facebook first, just as a friend, one button press. And then I get back this message within about an hour from Hannah, who was at home. It wasn't. It was an hour and 10 minutes. Days. We can look at the dates, my love.
Yeah,
and so I knew of her, and she knew of me, and I requested her, and she answered, and we started texting. After about 4 days, I said, can we talk over the phone? And she was like, no, I'd like to Skype. And I was like, who Skypes? How weird.
As a trans woman who has a deep voice, I get really nervous about speaking to people. I would get misgendered on the phone all the time, which is understandable because I've got a deep voice. But for someone you're potentially wanting to date, I didn't want you to hear my voice and think, oh my God, she just sounds like a man, and therefore want to run away. Whereas when you see someone, as well as hear their voice, you get the whole package. So that's why I didn't want to.
I met her on the 30th of December 2015 under the clock tower in Waterloo Station. And I kind of walked up, she was early and I walked up on time, obviously, but watched her for a second from afar, and she just looked so nervous and so beautiful. And she was kind of all fidgety and, looking around. And I just thought, from that moment, I knew how beautiful she was, and I hoped for good things.
Dating was absolutely terrifying. I kind of knew growing up that I was different. I just pushed it away and away. And it wasn't until I was in my kind of early teens that I really kind of got to grips with who I was. But that feeling has always been there since as a young child. So prior to meeting Jake, I didn't really go on any dates. I was still unhappy with my body and my place in society. to a point that I just wasn't happy to be intimate with anyone. I just shut that part of my life off, and I just resigned myself to never being loved and never being in a relationship and never having a future or a family. And, you know, looking back on that, that's a really sad place to be, but the truth of the matter was that was how I felt at the time. And so eventually, you know, about 3 years ago, I finally got to a place in my transition, in my life, where I was more comfortable with myself. I thought I'd try and put myself on the dating scene, and, you know, Jake was genuinely the first person that I came across.
I was given, because I was very briefly in a film called The Danish Girl in 2015, and so the production company very kindly gave me a lot of the photos. It was about the artist, Lily Arbe, and her lover. So these I'm going to eventually have signed by some of the cast when they're actually not promoting all of their films, Eddie Redmayne, etc. And you know, hopefully auction them off for one of the charities that we work for. So this was one of the original paintings used in The Danish Girl, which is quite cool.
That's very cool.
There's obviously a lot of stigma. You know, there is a lot of stigma around dating someone trans, and I think anyone trans will tell you that. A lot of our trans friends are alone and have been single and alone for many, many years.
Yeah, especially as a trans woman dating people, the fragile masculinity which makes people think that because they're dating a trans woman that they're gay, even though they're dating a woman still, you know, and then what their best mate thinks of that, you know, and how they're treated down the pub and all the rest of it. It can be a really difficult thing. Most trans people think about their bodies more often than other people, and I certainly do, and I was always very conscious of my stature and my size and, you know, my voice and all sorts of things, and I never really thought that I'd be able to wear a wedding dress and feel like I looked beautiful. And I tried this on for the first time. It's the first wedding dress I tried on as well, and I just looked at it and I was like, wow, my heart sort of caught in my throat, and I just looked for the first time and realised actually, you know, I like the way I look in it. I think I look feminine and I look nice, and so yeah, it was a very emotional moment. I felt very feminine, and I felt very pretty in this dress, which for everyone is important, but I think for a trans woman, I think particularly important.
And there's on the top, as you can see, one of Hannah's old army hats. I
mean, I was outed on the front page of a newspaper here in the UK, so me being open and out as an army officer wasn't really a choice I was given, but I decided to control the story and give my truth, you know, into that story rather than letting them write whatever they wanted. And it's been a very positive thing, and even though it was quite scary at the time, I know that I'm very lucky to have that voice. As Jake says, there are lots of people who would kill to have the platform and the voice that we have, and so I definitely feel a responsibility to use it for good and to make some positive change.
As Spider-Man says, with great power comes great responsibility. It's true, he does.
The army is super amazingly inclusive and will support anyone's gender identity, but there are boundaries, as there are for everyone. So if you are like me and a trans woman, that's fine, but then you've got to have, you know, you've got to abide by the female standards. So you have to have hair up in a bun, you can have single studs of a gold or silver colour, you can't have nail polish, that kind of stuff. So it's really basic stuff, but it's it's still a uniform. They allow you to say, okay, you're, you know, female, then you can wear the female uniform. They just care about what you bring to the party rather than, you know, who you bring to the party.
The media can be very cruel, and the media knows that at the moment there is a fascination with trans people, and it's clickbait, and it will sell newspapers, and the more sensationalist and the more misleading they are with those stories, and the more fear-mongering that goes along with that story, the more newspapers they'll sell. But what they don't realise is that they are putting trans people at risk, and every negative story just puts another of our acquaintances in danger.
The half bit must be in here somewhere. No. Where's the other one?
I don't know. Carry on. Oh! Did I get you?
Wish I knew where the other one was.
We get asked in some sort of really strange and inappropriate times, you know, have you had surgeries and have your genitals changed? And, you know, over dinners, for instance, with reporters and so on, and we're obviously always taken aback, and we think, you know, come on, and let's think about if you'd ask anyone else about their genitals if they weren't trans. But there, you know, there is an interest. People are curious. It's just human nature. Oh, look, movie posters? Yeah. Oh God, that's not a good sign. What is that? What the hell is that?
Is it what is it?
I have no idea.
Is it a toothbrush?
Stop shooting! Stop shooting! What the hell? I don't even know what that is. Oh, thank God. Oh, God. It's my shaver. Oh!
Is that the other one?
Yeah. Right. You know, I've always wanted kids. I just knew that I was always destined to be a parent, but I never for a minute thought that it was going to be possible. Now, you know, Hannah and I are married. We're now moving in together. Our next plan is now surrogacy. Done lots of research, and we are about to have our second meeting with them just in the next week or so. And we are very excited about the potential of starting a family. I have always wanted twin boys. I think boys would be great, and all done in one go. Bang.
I don't mind as long as they support Wales in rugby. So I have one condition.
I know a lot of people that think that trans people are mentally unwell, that we're deluded, that there's something seriously wrong with us. I think if you just look at the vast array and diversity within the trans community of people who are filmmakers and army captains and writers and creators and doctors and nurses and policemen, surely you must be, as a reasonable person, be able to look out and realize that we are just like anyone else. There's just something that wasn't quite right with our gender and our physical bodies when we were born, and that we've had to realign those in order to be able to live happy lives. People are scared of what they don't understand, and hopefully sometime soon there will come a time where people understand us, and if they don't understand us, then at least they accept us.